Welcome to Move Your Mind. My name's Nick Bracks, and this is a podcast where we have real conversations with real people and give real advice. This is the 7th episode of the Move Your Mind Limited construction series, and today I spoke to Mark Pomeroy, who's the CEO of Pomeroy Pacific. We're running this limited series because every year 190 Australians working in the construction industry take their own lives. This means we lose one construction worker every second day to suicide. Construction workers are 6 times more likely to die from suicide than an accident at work, and for young workers, the facts are that they are well over 2 times more likely to take their own lives than other young Australian men. We're having these conversations to raise awareness and bring light to the industry. Thanks so much for supporting the podcast, and if you'd like to learn more or join our community, you can go to moveyourmind.me, and if you'd like to purchase the Move Your Mind book, you can go to nickbracks.com/book. Mark, thank you for making the time to come on this Move Your Mind construction podcast series.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, mate. So before we get into it, would you mind just giving our listeners a bit of a background on yourself, where you've come from and what you do now?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm currently 42 years old. I've been in this business now for about 18 years. Prior to that at KPMG in their tax legal department, and my career started as a lawyer, having done law at Monash University. Today, the business Pomeroy Pacific that I'm involved with and the CEO of is a family business, 52 years within the property industry. Something like $20 billion of projects having been managed or delivered. The company focuses on development and project management and development management, essentially working with developers or our own projects to deliver large-scale development projects across Australia, across multiple sectors, from office buildings, industrial buildings, residential apartments, land subdivision projects, schools on behalf of the government and or private institutions, and a range of specialised buildings from aquatic centres to the Qantas simulator to the ABC studios. So very diverse background, and we get to see the highs and lows across the various sectors of the property market through the various cycles. So very diverse, high intensity, lot of stress, but a lot of highs as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it sounds like it would be a combination of, exciting and stressful, being sort of involved in so many projects, and I guess you'd never get bored, doing that much. But I presume, especially for you, in the position you're in, managing your own stress levels and managing burnout and things like that, is that difficult for you?
Look, I think what I've come to understand, firstly, passion is probably the most important thing to sanity. If you really love what you do, it helps, I think, navigate those highs and lows, because you're still ultimately doing what you really enjoy. And imagine someone that loves the sport and they have a really bad day. They still love the sport. So, and that helps them come back and want to come back for more, because it's a space that they're comfortable with and know that they can add value to. So that's been always a really important part that just has naturally kept me motivated. I've also found as the business has grown, and I guess I personally can only be in so many places at once, being able to let go a little bit and allow others to really step up and take more responsibility, and being prepared to allow others to fail in the same way that I would have failed when I was younger. That actually also really helps you manage, I think, the stress that comes from the business, because you get a lot of satisfaction watching people grow and helping guide and mentor them.
Yeah, I love that point. And, I think that's so true, because we can't control what's going to happen every day, and there's going to be highs and lows. There's going to be times when things are harder, and if you are doing something in general that you enjoy, it does make that process easier or more manageable. I think a lot of the time, people are trying to do things that it probably comes down to self-awareness of finding, is this actually something that I'm suited to doing, which I think is a really important point.
Yeah.
The next question I had was, how was COVID for you? What was that process like, and was that a difficult thing to navigate?
Yeah, it's a great question. I vividly remember the first probably 4 months from March through till whatever that might be, August, let's say. The uncertainty of what COVID was going to mean to our business and more broadly to the industry was an immensely stressful time period. However, as a company and as the senior leaders of the business, we very quickly came up with a strategy around constant communication, which meant we started to have twice a day, the core executive would meet first thing in the morning every day, and at the end of the day, share any issues going on, any opportunities, stresses, whatever it might be. Mini war room, morning, night, every day for 4 months. We would have weekly meetings with the team via Zoom, with the entire business, everyone online. And really that ability to communicate and just deal with every kind of obstacle one step at a time was the approach, but it didn't remove the anxiety and the stress because nobody really knew if the industry was going to come to a halt. So property was very fortunate, as was construction, that it continued through COVID, but it would very easily, or it could have very easily been a restaurant, and they could have closed down construction. And a business like us that essentially, I guess think of us as the chefs and the waiters, had that stopped, our work and cash flow would have stopped as well. And that was the constant management that had to be considered. And how would we pivot and how would we survive and how would we keep all our staff if that were to actually happen? So it was stressful, but fortunately, property and construction continued, and we found a way to pivot as a business to still be able to service our clients, our projects, and to deliver quality service to a level our clients were happy with.
Thank you so much for supporting Move Your Mind. We're expanding the offerings of the organization, and we're tailoring everything we do to suit you guys and to try and answer to all of your needs and the questions that you send in. The book is available globally. You can find all of the links at nickbracks.com/book. And we've just released the Move Your Mind community. We've currently got a men's community group, a women's community group, a general group. We're going to be loading up other groups, and you can find all of the links at moveyourmind.me. This group's been created based on the needs of what we've heard and learnt throughout running Move Your Mind. And we have live events, we've got courses, we've got huge amounts of value, the ability to share information, share ideas, work in groups together to grow and share your learnings, to learn about different topics. You get email reminders. There's a whole lot of features in there. We're constantly updating it, and we're so excited to share it with you. You can find all of the information about it at moveyourmind.me. Yeah, I think that's great. And I think the key thing you're saying there, communication, which I think in general, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what you're doing, in any facet of life, really, communication is such a huge thing. So being able to, double down on the communication in that period, I think that sounds like it's, such a valuable thing to have done to get through it and, problem solve, because you'd have to be, problem solving and thinking on your feet all day, every day to navigate, such a crazy period.
Yeah, absolutely. It really was.
So this podcast is, really centering on, mental health in the construction industry. You're in the property industry. I guess I'm interested on your point of view on probably on both levels, within what you've witnessed in your organization and your viewpoint on a broader level of, what is mental health like in this industry?
Yeah, that's a very big question there. And I mean, I'm one that really can only focus on the experiences that I have and really on the well-being of my staff. There's always conjecture, good and bad, about what goes on outside of your direct business. But I don't believe I'm well placed or should be an authority of what does and doesn't occur in the broader context of both construction and the myriad of property related businesses that exist. But if I focus to our business and what I do as the CEO and what I believe matters, number one is a positive culture, a culture built with the right values, and not just values that are written on a wall, but values which the leadership lives and breathes, right? Because that ultimately is the culture that will permeate through the business. And we've just recently done a survey called Great Place to Work, which was a survey that's gone out to every staff member, totally anonymous, and that came back at a 97% rating, right, across the entire business. I think having an environment of diversity, of open communication, whilst there's structure, there is absolute openness across the business. We believe in difficult conversations. So it's not about just treating everyone, or maybe let me rephrase, it's not about telling people what they want to hear. It's about building the best out of every person, both as individuals, but also technically and professionally. So that means being able to give feedback in a environment where it is welcomed and supported, because growth, people that feel like they are growing and valued, I believe, will generally have a more enjoyable time in the office. And that is going to lead to, I think, a better mental state within the office. Obviously, mental health goes well beyond just culture and offices. And again, I'm just not an authority to talk on that type of stuff. But my job as the leader of this business is to create an environment of trust, of mutual respect, right? Authenticity, and where people feel safe, motivated, and passionate about what they do. And if we do that successfully, I believe that we will have a much happier, more balanced group of individuals than if we did not.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's a really, really good answer, what you've said there. And so many key things. And these are things that come up, from our work in this industry all the time. I think the biggest one, you talked about culture. And what I've seen in, when we go into large organizations, the hardest thing to do is how do you change a culture in a company once, over 10, 20, 30 plus years, when they've had this embedded culture, how do you change it? Because this is really, it's like a microcosm of society. These are hard things to change. So I think getting that right from the ground up is so important, and it makes such a big difference. So I think it's, such a great point. And I think a lot of companies do sort of, tick boxes, and they'll implement some of these things to look like they're, doing what they need to do, but they're not actually being accountable. And as you said, having those hard conversations, that's how you actually address problems. How on earth are you going to do it if you just do these blanket sort of things and, pay platitudes? It's not going to really change things. So I think, yeah, really, really good answers.
And I think just to touch on that, changing culture requires a significant investment, an investment in time and an investment in money, right? That is just the reality. So if you try and solve it with, a one-day strategy session and a culture survey and say, yeah, we're going to change it, it does not change. And obviously, the bigger the organization, the harder it is to change. And it does require a longer-term, significant investment. And that probably means some really difficult choices about looking at some of the people in that business as well, that may not align to what you believe is the culture you're trying to create. And that becomes, very difficult as well when we're in a market where employment levels are, unemployment is very low, so employment is very full, and the fear of change often freezes people or their ability to make decisions. But long term, not being prepared to act in what is right for the longer term will lead to a more negative result, in my experience.
My name's Nick Bracks, and I'm a storyteller who has dedicated my entire adult life to creating positive conversations around mental health. In recent years, discussions around mental health have become less taboo and entered the mainstream vernacular. I've delivered over 1,000 mental health seminars around the globe, including several TED Talks, and I believe we all have a story to tell. In my book, Move Your Mind, I cover my story and stories from people that inspire me, as well as insights from world-leading mental health experts. This book will help you to learn how to recognise mental health issues before they become a problem. Use your personal challenges as motivators, take ownership of your well-being, and create new daily habits that increase happiness and reduce stress. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, it's like, it's like putting a Band-Aid on. And again, this doesn't just go for, companies. This is on a societal level. There's so many reactive services out there that are needed. But if we don't address the core problem, we're just going to be putting a Band-Aid over these different things. And to your point, if we, if we just go and tick a box and do a one-day session or whatever, how's that going to make a change? The simple way to look at that is, if I wanted to, lose 10 kilograms and I went to the gym as a one-off or attended a seminar, listened to a personal trainer telling me, if you do all these things, you can make all these changes, and I don't actually go and do it myself, how the hell am I going to get any change at all? And I think we don't, it's not, when it's not tangible, often don't look at it in that way. So, yeah.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
Appreciate you sharing that. We finish every episode up with just 5 closing questions. So these,
Sure.
won't throw you too far under the bus here. They're pretty straightforward ones. First one is, what's your best childhood memory that comes to mind? Bit of a random one for you.
Yep, it's a good one. Best childhood memory. I think I used to be a very avid rollerblader, and from the age of 10, I don't know if anyone would remember the old trams in Melbourne. They were the really old ones that had open seats at the rear for the drivers. And I used to just quickly jump on the back, get the tram down with my rollerblades on to the skate park. And I just remember doing that every single week on, week off. And I can just still see my time there, not a worry in the world, thought I was invincible. Wasn't scared about getting injured, falling off the half pipe, nothing. And now I drive past it in Paran and look at it and go, what the hell was I thinking? So
I love that. I love that. Exactly. It's funny thinking back to that when you're a kid and just no fear. It's so true. It's so true. Not a worry in the world. What do you think is the biggest burden on mental health in society, or one of the biggest at the moment?
Um, Again, I'm going to just talk what I feel and see, as opposed to, what might or might not exist out there. I think it's the feeling or the need to succeed, that kind of pressure that I put on myself. And I think that no matter how successful, one might be, it always feels like there's more I can do, there's more I can give. And so I think that kind of constant pursuit adds stress, rather than to be able to say, I've done it, stop.
Yeah.
So that would be my reflection on that.
No, I can. Yeah, it is. It's like a thing, and I feel that. I think everyone does. It's no matter what you do, it's like it's insanity, because there's no level where you can get to where you feel okay unless you decide, I'm going to change the way I view all of this and set my own, my own parameter for what I view as being enough, because it's just a recipe to be unhappy otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which sort of leads to the next question. What's your personal definition of happiness?
Personal definition of happiness. I would think it's almost another word which doesn't really answer it, but it's content.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, to me, and I don't think happy is a permanent state. Content is probably a better word, because content allows you to kind of go in your waves, but overall you're content.
Yeah.
Happy suggests you're always up the top. So for me, I feel content, but I'm not always happy.
Yeah, I think it's a great answer. And like you said, it's impossible to always be happy. And happiness isn't, that's like a drug-like feeling, and that's great. But, we often can, or often do, get addicted to those sort of feelings. And then that's not healthy. So I think it's how do you find that underlying peace of mind? It's so important. What are you most afraid of?
What am I most afraid of? It's an interesting question. Maybe loss of family, loss of money, loss of position. Just generally loss would probably be a strong, solid answer that I feel would be very authentic.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Mm.
And final one, what are you most proud of?
The team that our business has built, when it is a team effort to build it. So it's not my personal doing, but I've certainly, lived by it, and I'm very proud of the business and the people and the way they've grown together as a team. That really satisfies me.
Yeah, well, I love that. I think it's a great final answer to it. And yeah, appreciate you making the time to do this. If anyone listening wants to learn more about your organization, where's best for them to go?
I can go to our website, which is www.pomeroypacific.com.au, and that's Pomeroy, Pomeroy. And from there, they can also email me. My email's there, and my LinkedIn as well. They can personally contact me through LinkedIn if they wish.
Okay, great. And we'll for anyone listening, we'll put all of the links in the show notes as well. So just go to the link and you can go from there. So I appreciate you making the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Nick. Much appreciated.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks to Mark Pomeroy for joining me today for Move Your Mind. If you'd like to join the Move Your Mind community, you can go to moveyourmind.me. And if you'd like to purchase the Move Your Mind book, you can go to nickbracks.com/book.